From Washington, the McLaughlin Group, the American original. For over 3 decades, the sharpest minds, best sources, hardest talk.
Issue 1, Historic Trade Act.
We expect this historic agreement to promote economic growth, support higher paying jobs, enhance innovation, productivity, and competitiveness, raise living standards, reduce poverty in our countries, and to promote transparency, good governance, and strong labor and environmental protections.
The United States this week signed a landmark free trade deal, the Trans-Pacific Partnership, TPP, with 11 Asia-Pacific nations. The TPP joins the United States with Australia, Brunei, Canada, Chile, Japan, Malaysia, Mexico, New Zealand, Peru, Singapore, and Vietnam. Taken together, these nations have a combined GDP of, get this, $28 trillion. Under the TPP, these nations have agreed to open their markets and eliminate trade tariffs. For President Obama, who has long sought new trade deals, TPP is a major accomplishment. The president will now have to work to gain approval from Congress for the TPP, and that won't be easy. Labor unions and trade protectionist activists, including presidential candidates Bernie Sanders and Donald Trump, and former frustrated Republican presidential candidate Pat Buchanan, claim TPP will ship American jobs overseas and weaken the U.S. economy. Unsurprisingly, the White House disagrees. It wants Americans to endorse TPP. Here's a White House press release.
Right now, President Obama is working with Congress to secure his trade agreement, the Trans-Pacific Partnership, or the TPP. This trade agreement will write the rules so American workers can sell their goods to the fastest growing markets without being blocked or put at an unfair disadvantage. And that's the kind of deal that puts the American worker and the American cherry on top.
Is this trade deal good or bad for U.S. workers, Pat Buchanan?
John, these aren't written for U.S. workers. These are trade deals put together by transnational corporations and trade ministries to globalize the world economy, basically to enable these powerful corporations to move their factories and plants out of countries where the wages are high to countries where the wages are low, so they can bring their products back then free of charge into the United States. In the last month, our trade deficit's running at $600 billion overall this year, and with China at $400 billion, John. But I will tell you this, the forces that oppose these transnational trade deals are getting stronger and stronger. Not only Bernie Sanders and Hillary Clinton in the Democratic Party, but Mr. Trump in the Republican Party. This deal is in real trouble, and I predict that they're going to have to throw the deal, the discussion in the House or the Congress over certainly past the early primaries.
Helena.
There's a lot of negativity around these trade deals. NAFTA was way oversold, but that was 20 years ago. And I think the president makes the point that we learned some lessons then. This deal would eliminate 18,000 taxes and tariffs, 38% on American beef sold in Japan, and they love our beef. Up to 70% is tacked on in cars in Vietnam. The president again makes the point that there's environmental standards and labor standards that he says are enforceable. This requires trust in President Barack Obama. And I happen to think that a progressive Democrat is not going to sell out American workers, but he's got to make that case to the American people and to Congress.
David Rennie.
Well, I think unfortunately you'll be shocked to hear this, but there is also party politics involved, election politics. So Hillary Clinton came out against the TPP, a deal that she herself had talked up for years and years, particularly as Secretary of State. And I think what's going on there is her most immediate threat right now is Vice President Joe Biden joining the race, and also the energy that's being sucked from her by Bernie Sanders, the left-wing senator from Vermont. By coming out in favor of the TPP, if you're completely shameless, it's a brilliant move, because Vice President Biden is obliged to defend administration policy, so he has to defend TPP. So he's locked off to Hillary's right, and then she hugs Bernie Sanders tight on the left, and she's home clear. And we've got the first Democratic debate next week, and she cruises into that with Biden blocked, perhaps dissuaded from joining the race in her ideal world, and Bernie Sanders with no room to differentiate on trade.
She's opposed to the TPP because the unions don't like it, and she needs the union support badly.
That and the party base, and also this maneuver that it makes life harder for Joe Biden, and she doesn't want Joe Biden to throw his hat in the ring.
Well, I'm shocked to hear that there's politics involved in a trade vote and all. Just like I was shocked that it was gambling in Casablanca. The fact is that it's certainly true that some people will benefit, some will lose. That is always true in trade, but on the whole, we tend to gain in the long run. But it is a question of trust, though, politically. And that's going to be a big argument here in the wake of NAFTA, because NAFTA was oversold.
And, you know, Clinton figured out,
Let Eleanor in.
Clinton figured out that if she supported this deal, it would be a poison pill in the primaries. I mean, I don't see how a Democrat can win these primaries if they support this deal. And so Joe Biden, his base of support is the unions and the AFL-CIO. Be very difficult for him to come in and separate from President Obama. So it's politics, yes, and it's not going to cost her any votes.
Forget Joe for a second. If Hillary goes into a general election against Donald Trump and she's for the Trans-Pacific Partnership, she puts Ohio at risk and Pennsylvania at risk and Michigan at risk in the general election. This makes all the sense in the world for Hillary. It's a cold-blooded decision. My guess is if she became president of the United States, she would embrace it.
That's what I think. She'll be for it. She'll lose support on the editorial pages, but it's not going to affect any votes negatively for her.
Doesn't Hillary's opposition surprise you, given that Bill Clinton's administration passed NAFTA and most favored nation trading status for China, and negotiated China's entry into the WTO, her husband, 3 trade deals that changed the world and ushered in the era of globalism?
That's when he
Is
was
Hillary
president.
full of surprises?
Her
husband still supports
he
this
did that
deal.
as president, not as a candidate.
And Hillary Clinton has a has a
It's
has a long track record.
Didn't have to vote on it.
It's 20 years
If you're a
later.
candidate, go against it. If you're the president, okay, and you're a globalist, go for it.
Disregard all the other influences in your life.
Get into the presidency of the United States.
That's
and
all
then
that
you can
counts.
do.
Yeah.
You see what his morals are.
But he's run for president.
I
mean,
lost.
he knows.
I was
You
how
ran
it
for
works.
president.
And I was against it, and I lost.
No, she'll get into the. If she gets elected to
Why-
the White House, she'll
yeah,
do.
So did Dole. Dole lost too.
She'll do a screaming U-turn like a diesel Volkswagen. She'll be.
This is not the sort of issue that necessarily
Exit
is going to turn an
question.
election.
I'm sorry, what was that?
I was just going to say this is not the sort of an issue that necessarily turns an election, but it can make a difference when you get down near the wire, insofar as the fact that those people who are opposed to losing jobs to trade overseas, they're a very well organized group, especially in the Democratic Party, and so it's something.
Well, here's another thing I didn't see here. When she was Obama's Secretary of State, she helped lay the foundation for the TPP.
That's right.
Which she now says she opposes.
Foolish
For only those
inconsistency.
altruistic reasons that we went through before.
No,
Exit question, is Hillary's opposition to the TPP a harbinger of tough sledding in the Senate?
I agree with Ellen. This thing will not get through the Congress in the spring. I don't think it has a chance to get through unless you've got Trump doesn't get the nomination for the Republican Party.
Hard to imagine.
Oh, I mean, I think this deal does have a chance to get through. I didn't, and I think Hillary is substantively on the wrong side, but she's on the right side politically, and I understand why she did it. But I think there are still going to be enough votes in the Congress. He only needs
David
a
Rennie.
simple majority, I believe.
I think there's a grave danger if you support this deal, which The Economist does, that it's going to have to wait for the next presidential election to be over, because I think it's so tempting for Republicans to say, oh, we love free trade, but just this president is such a bad negotiator that we just can't support this deal this side of the election. And I think the incentives are all there for the Republicans.
Yes, Congress will approve of the Trans-Pacific Partnership. Issue 2, Speaker who? The race to replace John Boehner as the next Speaker of the House of Representatives, third in line to the presidency, is heating up. On Thursday, things took an unexpected turn
I think I shocked some of you, huh?
when California Congressman Kevin McCarthy, who had been the frontrunner, unexpectedly ended his candidacy. Congressman McCarthy had faced criticism in recent days after suggesting that the Benghazi committee investigating the September 2012 attack on the U.S. consulate in Benghazi, Libya, which killed Ambassador Chris Stevens and 3 other Americans, was an attempt to score damaging political points against Hillary Clinton, rather than discover the facts of Benghazi.
Everybody thought Hillary Clinton was unbeatable, right? But we put together a Benghazi special committee, a select committee. What are her numbers today? Her numbers are dropping. Why? Because she's untrustable.
The House vote to elect the new Speaker is scheduled for October 29. So now, Republican centrist Jason Chaffetz and Republican hardliners Daniel Webster and Lynn Westmoreland are vying for the top spot. But note this, rumors are spreading on Capitol Hill that budget expert and 2012 vice presidential candidate, Congressman Paul Ryan, may enter the race as a consensus candidate to unite the Republican Party. Did McCarthy's comments in the Hannity interview destroy his chances of becoming Speaker? Eleanor.
I think that was one factor because he committed the Washington version of a gaffe, which is he told the truth, and it's unrecoverable. I mean, the Clinton campaign has put out web ads, pointing out that this is a politically inspired witch hunt. The Benghazi has been investigated by eight separate investigations, including several on Capitol Hill, Republican-led. They haven't found anything. So this is a great gift that he gave to the Clinton campaign. There were also, rumors that there was some aspects of his personal life that may have prompted him to withdraw from the race so suddenly. But whatever his reasons are, being Speaker of the House with the Tea Party Republican caucus, it's ungovernable, it's a thankless task, and I wish whoever gets the job well, because it's really tough.
John, here's the situation. The Freedom Caucus has about 40 votes. Now all you need is half the Republicans in their caucus and you're the nominee for Speaker, but you gotta get half the Congress when you go in there, and the 40 Republican conservatives can deny you the speakership. They would have voted against McCarthy, and basically on the Sean Hannity interview, what he said on that killed him, but he still might have won it. But now the one individual that there's a real push behind by all elements of the party is Paul Ryan. And as of this weekend, even though he's a reluctant warrior, wants to remain chairman of Ways and Means, my guess is they're going to probably force him to take this, or maybe have Boehner hold on until the new year.
And that's the irony of it, which shows what Eleanor was talking about, is the chaos that's going on in the House Republicans. Paul Ryan's a great choice, but the fact that he doesn't want the job is indicative of why he ought to have it, because he really wants to get things done. And the problem with the House right now is nothing's getting done.
With respect, I don't think people use this word chaos. I don't think it's chaotic at all. I think it's really clear. There's a gigantic tactical disagreement within the Republican Party in the House. Some of them think that their job is to get legislation passed. The 40 or 50 who have this blocking minority, they think that their job is to use every lever they have, like shutting down the government, not increasing the debt ceiling, and that's the correct conservative role.
Let me agree with
David.
David.
It's an absolute. It's
There's
absolutely
a revolution.
Wait a minute, let him
There's
finish.
a revolution
Will you finish?
going on in the Republican Party. David's exactly right. It's an authentic battle inside the Republican caucus over principles and policy. It is going on in the Republican Party at the presidential level, where you've got Ben Carson and got Donald Trump, then you got the regular Republicans. This is a great struggle inside. I think it really is.
But it's not a beneficial
but
struggle. You cannot say when you got a big faction. When you got a big faction that's ready to shut down the government over principle, quote unquote, rather than to actually get something done, to work together legislatively, that's a failure. That's a colossal structural failure that's going to damage the party over time.
From your standpoint, it is. These folks believe the country's going in the wrong direction.
It's a minority group, though. It's a minority group. You're able to deal with the majority.
It's a minority group, and you can't choose not to pay the nation's bills, which is what the debt limit is about. It's about paying costs Congress has already incurred. And some of the presidential candidates, notably Ben Carson, doesn't even seem to realize that that's what the debt ceiling is.
Here's another point:
so
is that
they're playing on voter ignorance of the
but also
processes in Washington.
You and your allies and your supporters in places like the Tea Party, they put on the tricorn hats, they put on the 18th century knee breeches, and they say how much they love the Founding Fathers. The Founding Fathers set up a system of checks and balances and divided government.
But
and I
the
think
problem
the
is-
40 or
Okay,
50
hold
on the
on.
right
They
of the
made
Republican
the
Party,
Congress
they're
the
not
most
willing to make divided
They
government
made the
work.
Congress the most powerful branch of government, and right now it's the weakest. It surrendered its power to the court. It surrendered its war powers to the president. That's the problem right
And
now.
that's
All
right,
right,
a lack
all
of
right.
leadership. That's
That's,
the problem.
that's
hello,
because
hello,
the
hello.
minority is holding the majority hostage.
Hello, beam me up, Scotty.
Oh, Star Trek fan. I love it.
Caretaker speaker. Caretaker speaker. Who could hold the job through the November 2016 congressional elections? Names of some potential caretakers. Retiring Minnesota Representative John Klein.
Right.
Texas Representative Mac Thornberry. Oklahoma Representative Tom
They're
Cole.
not going to do that. Oh, somebody who's in the House right now, but they're not going to get somebody from outside, John.
Yeah.
What they're,
Representatives
but they're
Trey-
allowed to
Trey
under
Gowdy's
the
in.
rules.
And
Just
Newt
Trey
to
Gowdy's
point
in
out.
the
Gingrich has
Congress
said he's
right
willing
now.
to serve.
Well,
Like Cincinnatus called from his plow.
And they can even keep Boehner, who lives near
exactly.
Cincinnati, by the way.
That's what makes the most sense to me till January.
Right.
Well,
It's possible.
let Boehner do the tough stuff that the Tea Party caucus
said,
doesn't
clean the
like.
barn, let him clean the barn.
Well, that's how he said that's what he would be doing. He would be cleaning out the barn. He actually used that phraseology. So
There's a lot of classical analogies
he-
flying around.
I'm going to
He
give you a
should
couple
do it.
more names. Jordan, let's see. Jordan, head of the Freedom Caucus, and
Freedom
Candace
Caucus.
Miller,
Freedom
National
Caucus
Republican
guy will not
Congressional
be the
Committee
Speaker of
Chairman,
the House.
Greg Walden, Lynn Westmorfeld, Jim Hensali. There are a lot of people out there.
Yeah, but none of
Yeah.
them are going to get.
They
are
can
gonna
be
get,
caretaker speaker.
Yeah, but they still have to get 218 votes. And
Actually, the best of them
caretaker
all
or
is
full time.
Jason Chaffetz.
Yeah.
He has the skills to build a legislative coalition and work across the aisle when necessary. I like Chaffetz because he's a Mormon.
But he's probably too close
What do
to
you
the
think of
Freedom
that?
Caucus, though.
I think he challenged McCarthy. I think he's close to the Freedom Caucus. I'm not sure the full House
The
would go
way
for
he
him.
berated the Cecile Richards, the president of Planned Parenthood, certainly cost him a lot of credibility with a lot of American women.
Chaffetz has extraordinary negotiation skills. Issue
He's a
3,
bully.
Hillary versus Keystone.
Oh, I get it. You're a politician. Yes, yes. And how about you? Well, me, I'm just an ordinary citizen who believes the Keystone pipeline will destroy our environment. I agree with you there. It did take me a long time to decide that, but I am against it.
That was how Saturday Night Live featured Hillary Clinton's September 22nd decision to oppose the Keystone XL energy pipeline. Mrs. Clinton's decision was a long time coming. As U.S. Secretary of State between 2009 and 2013, Mrs. Clinton said she supported the Keystone XL pipeline. What changed? Her status. She leaves government and re-enters the political arena with its own imperatives.
I think it is imperative that we look at the Keystone pipeline as what I believe it is, a distraction from the important work we have to do to combat climate change.
But Keystone is not all. In recent weeks, Hillary has proposed new government control over college tuition reform, gun laws, and pharmaceutical drugs pricing. Is Hillary's opposition to Keystone XL primarily political in nature, or is it principled? I ask you, David.
Well, as far as we can tell, her choice of breakfast cereal is political in nature, so I don't think we should be too shocked. I mean, it is outrageous that she said for years that because this was a complicated international negotiation where the Secretary of State, where the State Department had the lead, it would be wrong for her to comment, and then suddenly, as she needs to see off the left and push Bernie Sanders back into his box, she's discovered that principle forces her to
But the
take a position.
politics of oil have also changed dramatically over the last year or two, and even the Canadian government has pulled out of the negotiations in Nebraska. So Keystone may never happen. And the environmental community is a big aspect of the Democratic coalition. It's a political decision,
Keystone is a
but
symbol.
I don't think it's in conflict with her values or anything dramatic
no,
like that.
we're correctly noting
Clinton has had a very good week or 10 days. The McCarthy gift about Benghazi, the Saturday Night Live is very funny. She did really well. And her position on gun laws, she's now got the moral high ground over Bernie Sanders going into the debate next week. Sanders
John,
hasn't
everything we've talked about here-
always
Wait a
voted
minute.
with the
Eleanor,
gun
Eleanor,
safety folks.
Hillary is moving to the left to block out Bernie Sanders, who's made a terrific rush. And on all these issues, 100% political. I agree. She
We're gonna
doesn't
stop
choose her
agreeing. This is
breakfast
very
cereal
important.
without
But
wondering whether
Except,
Do you believe- I
except
don't
some on
believe-
gun
Tell
control
us
where
what
she's
for.
not moving
No.
toward Bernie Sanders because
She's
he's to
moving-
the right of the
that's
Democratic
right.
Party.
That's
And so
right.
this is tactical. And here, once again, I'm shocked that there are tactics to winning election
Totally.
into the presidency.
Totally.
All right, this is an exit question. The FBI confirmed this week that 2 computer companies involved with Hillary's email service, one in Connecticut, another in Colorado, are now involved in the investigation into her emails and national security. Is that bad news for Hillary?
You know, a lot of people treat it that way, but John, this is one more of the headlines, the drip, drip, drip that we've been seeing for months, and then it leads to later on an announcement that the investigation turned up nothing. But the fact is, it's damaging in the sense that it is a drip, 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 but we're kind of used to it by now. I don't see any polls
John, if that's
turning
an
on this
exit
announcement.
Yes, to quote-
That's an exit question. She's continuing to tiptoe through a minefield, and one of these days a real mine could go off.
Well, so they say, but how do you know?
We'll be right back.
I've been hearing that.
I said it could go off.
And you said that throughout 8 years of Bill Clinton's administration, and
One
it
of
didn't
them did
happen.
go off, didn't
Went
it?
off, but he still
Right,
survived, didn't
right,
he?
Clarence,
And
right.
he survived
Right.
with very high approval
Right.
ratings.
Good for you,
so here
Clarence.
we go again.
Good for you to point that out to Pat. Issue 4, Democrats debate part 1.
They will tell you Bernie Sanders
Next Tuesday, 5 Democrats will gather in debate. Moderated by CNN's Anderson Cooper and hosted at the Wynn Hotel in Las Vegas, this will be the first of 6 Democratic presidential debates. Participating will be former Senator and First Lady Hillary Clinton, Senator from Vermont Bernie Sanders, former Senator and Governor from Rhode Island Lincoln Chafee, former Maryland Governor Martin O'Malley, and former Senator from Virginia Jim Webb. Analysts expect fireworks on the stage. After all, while Hillary Clinton remains front-runner for the Democratic nomination, Bernie Sanders is rising in popularity and momentum with Democratic activists. In addition, Lincoln Chafee, Martin O'Malley, and Jim Webb are determined to boost their low polling figures. Come Tuesday, what should we expect from Hillary Clinton, Bernie Sanders, Lincoln Chafee, Martin O'Malley, and Jim Webb? I ask you. David.
It's going to be a bit like kind of Japanese kabuki theatre, because normally a debate is between which of these people on stage is going to be the nominee. But we know that Lincoln Chafee, Jim Webb, Bernie Sanders, they cannot be the nominee. They're not viable national candidates. So Hillary Clinton is going to be under pressure because Bernie Sanders sort of represents the left of the party rather than a viable challenger. She's also got to wrestle her own bad reputation, the negatives that people feel about her. So she's in some ways wrestling lots of kind of puppets and phantoms rather than the people literally on stage.
Hold on, Ellen. Do you think this will be a circular firing squad with its attention focused on Hillary Clinton?
No, I don't think so. I think Hillary Clinton has rolled out a number of policy proposals in recent weeks on colleges, on anything you can imagine, just about every topic under the sun. So she has substantive answers. She's preparing. She's going through practice debates with Bob Barnett, her lawyer, playing Bernie Sanders, and Jake Sullivan, an aide, playing Walter O'Malley. Meanwhile, you've got Sanders saying, I don't do any of that. I don't rehearse. I don't have any briefing books. I'm just going out there and I'm going to be myself, which is true. And I think what Clinton has to do is really be herself, and she is the most presidential, the most experienced person on the stage.
She's the front runner, and others want to be the front runner, and they want to move her away so that they can become front
Look, the
runners.
policy position, set them all aside. She's set up fine. What she's going to be running against in that debate is the image of Hillary as humorless and all the rest of it. She's running against the negatives about Hillary. So if she goes up there and she's humorous and she takes the criticism well, makes her point sharply, shows that she is a candidate that can beat the Republicans in the fall. That's what she's got to convince, is the whole national audience that this is a lady who's really got it and who's with it and who can be president of the United States and I like her.
That's
That's
right.
what she's running.
It's an audition, not a debate.
Exactly.
I think her biggest problem she has to worry about is overconfidence, because she's very well positioned right now. She's still front runner. She's projected to be. And her problem 8 years ago was that she was too overconfident in regard to competition she was receiving from Barack Obama. Now it's Bernie Sanders. I think she's very well aware of what's happening, which is why she came out the way she did in regard to Keystone Pipeline and to the.
But if it's about likability, Bernie Sanders isn't exactly warm and fuzzy and likable. That's not his.
She's running against the image of herself.
She is running against Bernie, and finally now she's not just shadow boxing with herself. She is running against someone else.
Will Joe Biden be on the stage at the Wynn Hotel?
No.
Really?
No.
No, he has said he's not.
You were wrong, John.
Well, Biden's entry will shake up the Democratic race. It might make the public tune in.
I'm hoping Lincoln Chafee goes back to his signature policy, which is putting America on the metric system, because that's by far the best policy out there in the whole 2016 campaign.
The Republican
there goes the
debate.
heartland.
The
Republican debate.
to be more like the UK.
Well, we've gone metric reluctantly, but it makes a lot of sense.
The Republican debates have been ratings blockbusters hitting the mid 20 million viewers both times. Will the Democrats draw as much interest?
Nowhere near
I
it.
think, yeah.
Donald's not there, John.
Right. Only in spirit, right? But it'll get good ratings, though, because Bernie Sanders has surprised everybody with the audiences he's attracted. I think the public is aware and alert to the issues right now. They haven't made up their minds totally, and so you got some suspense.
Predictions, Pat.
The Americans and Putin in Syria will come closer together on their tactical operations because they have to.
Bernie Sanders has the trickiest job in next week's debate because he doesn't want to directly criticize Hillary Clinton, but he has to criticize what she stands for, which is Clintonism and all the moves of the party towards the center under her husband.
David.
We will see American warships sail within 12 miles of the Chinese reefs in the South China Sea to prove that they have the right of passage.
Then what?
And then there'll be a big fuss, but it'll be a good thing to do. It's the right thing to do. It's going to happen.
Who's going to win the fuss?
Well, just the Chinese need to know that their legal claim is invalid and America will enforce it. But there's been a big round. It's going to end with warships going through.
Very exciting. Clarence?
Ben Carson's starting to get some of Donald Trump's support, and neither one's going to get the nomination.
I predict that Ben Carson's comments about refusing to cooperate with a mass murderer and urging others to jointly overpower the shooter will go over well with the public as a rare example of common sense, not a criticism of victims. Bye-bye.